Welcome to this explainer on the philosophy of Ariel M. Scisney, and that is pronounced Ariel Scisney. Today, we're jumping straight into the architecture of peace, collaborating with the cosmos. I mean, when you really strip it all down, we are essentially just walking clumps of fat and salty water trying to figure out our place in the universe. But grasping that scientific reality? It's a total game changer. It reshapes absolutely everything, from how we manage our climate to how we secure our personal finances. We've got a roadmap today that is urgent, strategic, and honestly incredibly hopeful. Let's get into it.
So let me ask you a quick question. Where are you right now? Sounds super simple, right? You might say your living room, or maybe a coffee shop. But scientifically speaking, you have literally never been in the exact same location twice in your entire life. And this timeline breaks down exactly why. In just a matter of hours, Earth is spinning on its axis like a top. Over days, we orbit the sun. Over years, our sun is orbiting the center of the Milky Way. And over millennia, the Milky Way itself is drifting on a collision course right toward the Andromeda Galaxy. So we are in constant, multidimensional motion, traveling in this crazy, continuous corkscrew pattern through a supercluster of drifting galaxies. We are truly on a dynamic voyage.
This cosmic scale really forces a powerful perspective on us. Apollo 14 astronaut Edgar D. Mitchell hit the nail on the head. He basically said that from 250,000 miles out, international politics just look petty. When we act as true ambassadors to knowledge and zoom out to this epic scale, our earthly disputes kind of dissolve into pure scientific realism. Which brings us to the island test. Imagine just two people alone on a planet. They have one immediate choice to make: conflict or trade. As the book notes, taxes are the cost we pay for living in a civilized society. They force you to put a stake in your fellow citizens. Peace isn't a default setting. It is an architecture we have to deliberately build.
Section 1, the carbon hot potato and biological exchange. Let's transition over to industry and see how we can act as energy shepherds, applying the subjective cosmic framing to something a bit closer to home, the carbon cycle. The absolute most crucial point to remember here is this: science is neither good nor evil. It is simply true. Without demonizing it, carbon dioxide is just a mechanism of life. Animals exhale it, plants gobble it up to grow, and fungus break the whole thing down. Organisms have essentially been playing a biological game of hot potato with carbon since the very dawn of abiogenesis. It is the engine of life.
But, we do have to face the math. Mother Nature's ledger shows the steady atmospheric data recorded in tree rings and polar ice cores. On the flip side, human industry is rapidly digging up and burning millions of years of fossilized plants for energy, and we absolutely must harness the 3,353 gigajoule energy floor to power our industrialized future. The current mathematical reality, though, is that by burning those fossil fuels, we've pushed atmospheric carbon levels over 400 parts per million. To put that into perspective, that is twice the concentration that existed before human beings even walked the Earth.
Section 2, multi-planetary future and the interstellar economy. Looking honestly at these planetary limits, well, it forces us to think bigger. It pushes us toward the ultimate survival and expansion of industrialized civilization. I like to call this timeline the ultimate cosmic clock. Over the next few decades, we are looking at autonomous transport scaling globally. Over centuries, multi-planetary human expansion. But look at that last point. In about 5 billion years, the sun goes out. It's a literal countdown timer. Knowing our sun is eventually going to die means leaving Earth isn't just some fun sci-fi fantasy. It is an eventual scientific necessity. It's the ultimate argument for US Earth, a unified planet acting together to secure its own survival. And how does a unified planet survive? By building a massive interstellar economy. Mining asteroids gives us heavy metals for electronics. Comets provide ice, which means water and oxygen for life support and rocket fuel. We can literally transform the empty void of space into a resource-rich frontier, grabbing the exact elements from the periodic table we need to keep civilization humming along. Now, to actually sustain these deep space nomads, we'll need incredible logistics. Agriculture is the bedrock for permanent lunar or Martian colonies, of course. But think about the crazy power of 3D printing out there, generating tools or even 3D printing stakes right there in space. And whether we are printing nutrients or setting up farms, the moon is perfectly positioned to serve as a highly lucrative cosmic truck stop, mainly because its lower gravity makes deep space launches a whole lot easier. Section 3, Architecture of Wealth and Crypto Cash Flow. Let's bring things back down to Earth for a minute, back to the present day.
Surviving the future as a civilization means we need individual sovereignty right now, and that whole process begins with understanding the physical mechanics of modern wealth.
Since Richard Nixon took the United States off the gold standard back in 1971, the dollar completely changed its identity. It shifted from being a resource-backed asset with real physical limits into a modern fiat instrument, something based purely on debt and government faith. And here is where we see the brutal math in inflation. Governments have massive mandatory spending, things like Social Security and Medicare. To cover all that, they rely on debt, which leads to the endless printing of fiat currency. This dilutes the entire money supply. And the result? The cost of all physical assets naturally rises in response. So the really critical takeaway here is this: your physical labor simply cannot outwork the speed of a government money printer. It is just not mathematically possible. Now, you might be wondering, why hasn't the US collapsed into rapid hyperinflation like other countries that print too much money? Well, it's all because of its global reserve currency status. The US has this unique superpower to export its monetary inflation by selling treasury bonds to other nations who desperately require dollars for global trade. It is a completely one-of-a-kind financial architecture. To combat this mathematical reality on a personal level, smart operators are adopting the crypto cash flow architecture. It's a strategy where you fill the crown with spot Bitcoin to avoid indirect exposure. And at the exact same time, you build a patriot layer of treasury bills, basically a yielding emergency fund that pays you to wait. It is a highly specific mechanical adaptation to modern markets. Let's break that crypto cash flow framework down into its core metaphors. The tree is your philosophy of capital. The chessboard represents how you mechanically adapt to different market regimes. The king is Bitcoin, accumulated as the ultimate store of energy. And the engine? That's what generates continuous yield. Remember, this framework is not about timing markets, it's about harvesting them. It fully embraces the reality that volatility equals cash flow. Section 4. The actionable output and the sovereign journey. So, how do we tie all this together? How do we bridge this epic, cosmic scale, the hard realities of physics, and the daily mechanics of the economy into a unified philosophy of monony? And yes, that's pronounced monotony. We've learned to fight nature, and we've learned to work with it. But how do we sustain our spirits while we build the future? In the next video, we explore Chapter 13, Entertainment, the stars on the stage that reflect our ideal selves. Until then, I leave you with this ultimate framework to guide your sovereign journey. The book is the source code. The tutoring is the training. AI is the runtime. The portfolio is the output. Are you ready to build your architecture?